Welcome to Sensible Health Solutions, the show where we simplify health and wellness. Join your hosts, Hallie Fields and Dr. Scott Luper, as they share practical tips and expert insight to help you navigate common ailments, nutrition, and overall well-being. Tune in for straightforward advice that empowers you to live a healthier life.
Good afternoon and welcome to Health Talk. My name is Hallie Fields and I'm your host today as we talk about health, how to get it, and how to keep it. With me today is Dr. Scott Luper. Dr. Luper is a naturopathic doctor, and today we are talking about how to get healthy. Dr. Luper, how are you?
Good. Healthy, finally.
Yes, it was.
I missed a week of my life, more or less. I actually felt pretty good in the middle for a day or two, and then had a relapse. And then anyways, I'm glad to be back, and I'm glad you're back, too, because your little tyke ended up getting sick.
She got the crud over the weekend, so it was you last week, and thankfully I've been able to avoid it, but the same thing happened to her. High fever hit, not too high, about 100.4, that receded, but then moved to her lungs. So
yeah,
by day 3, she's just congested and coughing and still as slow as a slug, but...
Yeah, well, Fairbanks in the wintertime, we're prone to picking up stuff like this. It's always something. And we try to do the best we can to stay as healthy as we possibly can, but sometimes stuff has just got an affinity for your immune system. Somebody will get sick and somebody else won't in the same family. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, it was my turn to take a hit for the team.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's hard on our patients. It's hard to have to
take
reschedule.
Next time.
Very good. All right, let's talk about. I was thinking about some topics that we haven't gone over, things that are relatively common and fairly difficult, fairly persistent to be able to treat. And one of the things that came to mind, mostly because these are the patients that show up, by the way. By the way, if all our listeners, if you want to know how we get our topics, it's whoever shows up in our practice. That's who we end up talking
Whoever
about.
Dr. Luper's working on at the
Yeah,
current
really,
moment.
honestly, that's what it is, because it's in my mind, right? So today it's psoriasis. Psoriasis is a rash. It's a condition of your skin. It's not like a classic rash. Most of the time with rashes, you get exposed to something and then your skin reacts to that thing and you get some, kind of itchy and red and you get bumps and it's like that, right? Yeah, this is not that thing. So it's not like with psoriasis, it's not like you got exposed to something and now you're having some kind of allergic reaction to it. Not at all. What psoriasis is really an autoimmune disease.
Like with the nerves?
No, it's with your skin.
Okay.
So the white blood cells are dumping chemicals that cause a reaction. And so what your skin does is it increases the rate that it is replaced by. So the way our skin works is there's a layer of cells down at the bottom of the skin, the inside part, the meat side, right? Those cells' job is to divide, and they divide and they divide and they divide and they divide and they divide, and they make scads of these skin cells that all kind of form a layer, and the cells are kind of like roundish, hexagonal maybe is a better way to describe it. And they all pack in tight into a sheet. Looking through a microscope, it looks kind of like bathroom tiles. You know those bathroom tiles, those tiny little hexagonal tiles?
Right.
And you literally buy them in a sheet. And you lay them out as a sheet, and then you fill in the little cracks with grout. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, our skin does the same thing. It has these cells that form these little impermeable, that's the word I'm looking for, sorry, impermeable layer, and it's the little cracks between the cells are all filled in with stuff, mostly with oil. And so what it does is it results in this flexible sheet. You can move it all around, and yet it's waterproof and durable as heck. Now, one layer is not good enough because it's only one cell layer thick. So what our body does is it makes layer, and then the next day it makes another layer, and the next day it makes another layer. Every day gets its new layer. and the layers pile up. And eventually, they work their way to the top, where they become the surface layer. Now, that trip going from the bottom to the top, the cells change. They dry out. They eventually just die, and they become really hard. And then, still flexible, but, leathery on a microscopic level. That's skin. Mm-hmm. So with psoriasis, that whole process I just described, it takes about 3 weeks for a cell to go from the bottom, where it just get made brand new, and then work its way all the way to the top, where it gets scratched off because you scratched yourself or something, right? You had a little itch, scratch, and dust. Dead cells kind of flake off like dust.
Right.
Now, here in Fairbanks, we don't have much dust because there's no dirt. The dirt's all covered up by snow. So where the heck is this dust coming from in my house?
I want to know.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you right now, it's coming from me.
Oh, gross. I just spent the weekend vacuuming and deep cleaning. And
Yep. That's where it's coming from. The vast majority of dust right now is skin cells. I got some dogs, too, so maybe it's a dog skin cell.
Yeah, I got some cats.
Right? So anyways, here's the dealio with psoriasis. That whole process is sped up a lot. Like 1,000 times. Kid you not.
Wow.
So that's why with psoriasis, you get these thick, they call them plaques. There's basically the skin gets real thick, and the skin is relatively new because it's made the trip to the surface in 3 days instead of 21 days.
Raw feeling.
Yeah, not necessarily. It's thick enough that it still works as skin, but it's weird and it looks kind of salmon colored.
Right.
Because the cells still got some juice in them. They're not perfectly dried anymore because they didn't have enough time to cure.
Does it hurt?
No, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't do much of anything. It doesn't really feel like much. It looks like, oh, geez, I mean, you got to be in pain with that one. But it doesn't. It really doesn't hurt. Now, having said that, psoriasis is not one thing. It's a zillion different things, lots and lots of different character. Mostly these lesions don't itch, except for when they do. And sometimes they're extremely itchy. But not always, and mostly not so much. They're really not itchy. They look horrid, but they're not really that bad when you get down to it. Now, the weird thing is the skin is growing so fast. It's growing faster than most kinds of cancer.
Wow.
So there's a lot of energy goes into growing these. And it's really more of a thing that looks like it's bad, but it's not really as bad as it looks. I remember when I was a kid, they had a series of TV commercials. They're talking about how to treat psoriasis, and they always call it the heartbreak of psoriasis. I don't know why they said that, because I think they were playing on people's fears and trying to make it seem worse than it was, which is shooting fish in a barrel, because people are always really conscientious about their skin and what it looks like. And their appearance generally, shampoo and makeup and all that stuff. And here you got this disease where your skin looks really super pink in a kind of a very definite patch.
Right.
I mean, a patch so much so you could take a felt tip marker and you could literally go along the edge and say, here's the plaque right here. Exactly. In fact, I've actually done that with patients when we're treating them. I say, I want to see how much better you're going to be. Here, I got a Sharpie. Let me run along the edge, then come back and see me in a week or two, and let's see where the line is. Now, the Sharpie line won't last forever. Eventually it wears off, but it'll last a week.
Yeah, for sure. My grandfather had psoriasis on his hands, so I can recall the pattern.
Yeah. Looks like a map.
Yeah.
It's called geographic. It's a geographic pattern. It's like there's South America, there's Africa, right? Like that. You can see them. They're all kind of, looking like maps. Yeah, like on an alien planet.
So my next question would be, is this autoimmune disease hereditary?
Well, kind of. Certainly there are, let me say this. There are genetic markers that if you have them, your chances of having psoriasis goes way up. But does that make it hereditary? Not really.
Yeah.
I'd say the susceptibility to psoriasis is hereditary. But whether you get it or not has to do with the local conditions, not your genes, but how you are and what's going on in your body.
So we're back to eating right.
And exercising. Yeah, it's always the same thing. Every show we ever do always boils down to eat right and exercise.
Environmental conditions, thinking of Fairbanks as a very dry and cold climate, does that have impact to it?
Yeah, to some extent. Yes. Not that much.
Okay.
Yes, I mean it does. It has an impact. We'll talk about when we talk about treatment. But it's the thing that impacts it more, the key, the crux to the whole story about psoriasis and how to treat it, how to understand it, is your immune system. If your immune system is whacked, then those are the people who are going to get psoriasis. If your immune system is very calm and peaceful, then you don't get psoriasis.
If patients or people have other autoimmune diseases, are they more susceptible to psoriasis?
No.
Okay.
Not really. Maybe a little. Not much. Not really. Not enough to say that's the problem. You have some other disease, and that's why you got psoriasis. No, it has to do really with the psoriasis itself. Now, the other thing, before I go on and talk about treatments and understanding it, I do want to mention that there's a lot of variability with psoriasis. Some people get a tiny little speck and no one knows about it and doesn't mean anything. That's the lightest case. Other people are just covered with it from head to toe. Now, you can get it where it's relatively light. You can get it where it's relatively heavy. You can get it where there's so much scale and so much turnover that the plaques aren't salmon colored. They're silvery because the dead cells pile up so much that you can almost get your fingernail underneath it and peel the stuff up. Now, you can't. You can't. It's stuck tight. It won't come off. It looks like it would come off easy if you just kind of scrubbed it, but it doesn't. It's attached really tight. In fact, if you do try to peel it up, it's like spot welded, and you'll peel it up and it'll bleed.
Yeah. You'll give yourself scabs.
Yeah, real scabs, because it's scabby already. Not scabby in as if you were bleeding scabby. Scabby in the sense that the skin is so thick and the scale is so thick that it's really just silvery. Your skin is just, remember I told you, your skin doesn't double in its turnover. It doesn't triple in its turnover. It's times 100 or 300 or 700 or 1,000 times the rate of cellular turnover. I mean, amazing numbers. More than almost any other disease. More than cancer.
Why? Why is that? What's going on
with
their
all
immune
things,
system?
why is that? Well, let me say, no one knows exactly why. It's hard to say exactly what the answer is. But what we do know is there's a mechanism that triggers the cell turnover, and it's related to inflammation. So the inflammatory chemicals kick on, and your body acts as if something's rubbing your skin off at 1,000 times the rate it normally would. You know, now if you were somebody who did like to do a lot of backpacking with no shirt on, and you were spending weeks and weeks walking outside, and it was rubbing the shoulder straps were rubbing your skin, and the belt was rubbing your waist, and you're getting rubbing. That's irritation, and your skin has to respond to that irritation by thickening up, by growing more cells quicker, better, faster. So that's an inflammatory process. So our skin knows how to do this. It knows when under wear and tear, it knows how to grow more. That mechanism has gone off the rails. It's going up to the full max of its potential of making new cells. That's what it is. Now, why? Oh, nobody knows really exactly why. The mechanism is inherent in us, but why it would turn on in some people and not in other people is not exactly clear. Now, having said that, I understand how to turn this around. I've done it a zillion times. And what you do is you have to calm people's immune system down. That's the trick. Now, I'm not the only doctor who knows this. A zillion doctors know this. But most doctors, what they'll do nowadays is they'll put people on a monoclonal antibody that shuts the immune system down in a specific way. And these are super expensive. These are the classic modern autoimmune treatment. And what it does is shuts the immune system down. They go through scores and scads of these things. They find the ones that work with whatever immune specific problem that's going on, and then they market it for many thousands of dollars a month, and they charge the insurance up the yin yang, and then people go on these things. Monoclonal antibodies. So right now, that's the mainstay. The treatment of psoriasis in the regular medical world is monoclonal antibodies. And it works. except for now your immune system's broken. Literally, it's been shut off and apart, and you can't do anything about it. It just doesn't work in that way. If you go off of the medicine, then your psoriasis is going to come back. And so it's warned. If somebody's got an immune system or they're susceptible to getting infections and those kinds of things, they can't go on the monoclonal antibodies because it'll be the death of them. Okay? Mm-hmm. So that's not really the greatest answer to the problem.
No, that
it's like
doesn't
if your
give
immune
people
system's
hope.
whacked, we're going to shut it off, and then you're just going to learn to live without that piece of your immune system.
Yeah, and then you're more susceptible for other...
Yeah. That's at best plan B.
Okay.
That's plan B. That's if nothing else works, then we can go to plan B. Plan A is let's calm down your immune system. Let's actually calm it down so it doesn't react. So how do we do that? Well, it's every other show we've ever done practically. It was the same story we always do, which is we look for reasons why your immune system got jacked up to begin with. And most of the time, it has to do with your diet. It has to do with what bugs are growing in your digestive system. Because the place where your immune system comes closest contact with the world around us is in your digestive system. I mean, you are taking pieces of the world, chewing it up and swallowing it. That's a pretty intimate interaction.
Yeah, that's as close as it gets.
It's not like a little dust got on your skin, ew, or you rubbed up against a wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's a real intimate thing going on here. And there's lots of action for your immune system in your digestive system. So the vast majority of your immune system really is just in one place. That's your digestive system. So if we can calm your digestive system down and the amount of immune system that's interacting with your digestive system, we just fixed 80% of your immune system right there.
And
Okay?
then
your psoriasis gets better.
Yeah.
So what do we mean by, fixing your your digestive system? Well, it's common sense. Is that if you got infections, these are low-grade infections. They're not enough to kill you outright, but they're infections nonetheless. You got low-grade infections in your digestive system, then they're making irritating things. There's proteins that leak out of them. There's microscopic poop that comes out of them. Other toxins that they make specifically in order to battle other microorganisms that are living in you. I mean, it's a whole ecosystem. And they're playing all the way out. They're playing their lives out in the fullness, right? And it's all happening inside your digestive system. So we're designed to have scads of bacteria in us. Trillions, right? And in order to have the right kind of bacteria, we need to have the right kind of environment that's conducive to these bacteria. And that's an environment that's full of soluble fiber. Soluble fiber is fabulous. The good, healthy bugs know exactly what to do with it. They convert it into short-chain fatty acids. Short-chain fatty acids, which for our benefit. Short-chain fatty acids are the favorite thing to eat of the cells that line the lower intestine.
Yep.
That's their preferred food. So, for them, it's pizza and hamburgers every day, as long as we put plenty of soluble fiber into the system and feed it. And so that's one of the mainstays in terms of treating psoriasis is by supplementing with fiber, making sure you got plenty of fiber. Now, the more than that, I don't know how detailed we want to go. This is radio, so we can't necessarily go into it 100%. But let me just say, the trick of this is we need to run tests to measure the immune system to see how whacked it is. And there's no real test for psoriasis specifically. What you can do is you get inflammatory markers, and you can see what's going on in the inflammatory markers. More specifically, we run stool tests to figure out exactly what kind of infections you have, and then how to and with the names, with the identification of the type of infection, then we match it up with the various treatments we have and be able to treat those infections and clear it up. Now, that's not enough to get rid of the psoriasis. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not enough. Because if we clear up the infections, the immune system still is vibrating. It's still humming along because it was, the day before or a week before interacting with these things. The immune system doesn't shut down, doesn't turn on a dime. It just doesn't. There's too many parts. They all kind of interact with one another. There's a feedback in the system that kind of keeps it up and running and humming. So in order to treat psoriasis, you got to calm that down. And that needs to come down. Now, There's lots of things that you can take and lots of things you can do to calm your immune system down in general. But before I tell you what they are, I just want to point out some interesting patterns on the planet. I don't know if you knew this, but psoriasis is uncommon in the tropics. Hardly anybody ever gets psoriasis. It is not unheard of. People can get it, but they almost never do. Now, it's not that their diet is all that much better, their immune systems are all that much more balanced. What do you think it is?
I would say I was initially going to go for diet because they have access to fresher produce.
Maybe a little. Nah,
Yeah,
that's
sunlight.
not. Yes, bing.
Ha-ha.
That's it. Sunlight. That's exactly what it is. Sunlight has a beneficial effect on psoriasis. Now, anybody who's had psoriasis very long knows this. They know they get better in the summertime, with exceptions, and worse in the wintertime. Again, with exceptions. There's people, a lot of psoriasis is a lot of things for a lot of folks, so there's exceptions. But the general rule that's mostly happens is worse in the winter, better in the summer.
So in the winter, they'd have to take an excessive amount of vitamin D.
Well, I don't know, excessive is right. I'd say a generous amount.
Generous.
Yeah, a lot more vitamin D.
Okay.
And that's it's not, vitamin D is not the cause, or the lack of vitamin D is not the cause of psoriasis. Let's be clear about that. Psoriasis is caused by your immune system creating chemicals that speeds up this remodeling aspect to skin.
The cellular
Yeah,
development.
the skin knows how to do this, and it basically just takes that thing and just dials it to 11, right? Bam, it's going full.
Is there a way, is the body metabolizing the vitamin D in a way
No.
that...
Vitamin D, you're on the right track with the vitamin D. Vitamin D regulates our immune system. Okay. One of the things it does. It also helps us absorb calcium. But one of the things it does is it regulates our immune system. It keeps our immune system from overreacting. This is one of the reasons why it's been so effective at saving people's lives with COVID. If your vitamin D levels were up, the chances of you dying of COVID went down 90%. Mm-hmm. That's a big number in terms of reduction of the death rate.
Right.
So how come we aren't all of us taking vitamin D? I don't know. In England, they were giving it away for free. They knew about this. The government. You could get it from the government for free. Here, if you went to the hospital, they give you a huge dose of vitamin D as a way to calm your immune system. But at that point, the horse is already out of the barn.
Yeah.
You know, it's harder to do. But if you're up on your vitamin D, the chances of you getting an immune system problem, an autoimmune disease, goes down. Doesn't go to zero. It's not the cure, but it decreases the chances a lot. I think this is the real reason why people in the tropics don't have near as much psoriasis as they do up in our latitude. Okay? So vitamin D is an important part of it. But vitamin D is just one of many things that helps calm our immune system down. So let's talk about, we're getting towards the end of the show. Let's talk about actually what to do for psoriasis. So if you got psoriasis, here's some ideas of things to do. Thing number one, find out if you have some kind of infection that's stimulating your psoriasis. Now, I say that as if there's a chance that you didn't have an infection. Yeah, I've never found anybody that didn't, ever. Not one single time in 30 years of practice. I have never to this date found somebody with psoriasis that didn't have an infection in their gut. They always do. That's my experience. They always do. So what we want to do is we want to find that infection, clear it up. There's ways to do that. You don't need to take antibiotics necessarily. Clear that infection up. Then, at the same time, you want to take stuff that's going to calm your immune system down. Things that just kind of just lower it down. And then here's a short list of things to take. And we already mentioned vitamin D. That's super helpful. Vitamin D, a lot of times, in and of itself, I had to pick one thing to treat psoriasis with. I was on a desert island, and I could only bring one treatment. It would be vitamin D.
Okay.
Yeah, vitamin D is particularly effective. Now, the dosage needs to be on the high side. Now, you have to be careful with vitamin D. If you go too high, then you absorb too much calcium, and now your calcium levels are too high, and now you're prone to cramps. So there is a limit. to how much vitamin D you could take in. But that limit is a pretty dang high, particularly if you have psoriasis. You could do a lot of it. Now, I'm not going to recommend anything over not on the radio, that is, anything over what the perfectly safe dose. That would be 10,000 IUs a day.
Okay.
That one's safe. Nobody ever goes bad with 10,000 IUs a day. Now, I've used 20 and 30,000 IUs a day in treating psoriasis temporarily because I want to knock it down, and then as soon as the psoriasis clears up, we back it down to a more normal dose. The other thing that's helpful is back off the vitamins, is fish oil.
Yep.
Yeah, we treat nearly every condition of skin we treat as fish oil. Remember I talked about how the cells kind of fit together like bathroom tiles?
Right.
And then there's that grout.
The fish oil.
Yeah, the fish oil is the grout. Yeah, fish oil is the grout. Fish oil helps seal in all the cracks and keep everything flexible. If you got a lot of cracks in the system, then stuff is getting in that's a bacteria, by the way. That's the stuff. They hit the bottom layer, and then they start generating an immune reaction. If you got a lot of cracks in your skin, oh, by the way, psoriasis cracks like crazy.
Yeah.
That's one of its characteristics because its skin's too thick and it's got a lot of cracks in it. So the more bacteria you have going on in your skin, the more likely it is to keep the whole thing going. So there's that. If you chug fish oil, then you fill those cracks in, and now you have less chance of getting reaction from just normal flora that lives on your skin. Aloe vera is interesting. They did some research on aloe vera. I'm not a huge fan of aloe vera. We don't actually use it in our practice.
No, that's not something I've seen.
But
why?
I don't know. It's good. I like it. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of wet.
Yeah, and it's sticky.
Yeah. I'm not a real fan.
Yeah.
Since it's the practicality of doing it. Now, they used aloe vera on kids with psoriasis. And what they discovered was it was 83% effective. That is, they did 60 kids. Out of 83% of those 60 kids had their psoriasis clear up with aloe vera.
Wow.
So that's pretty effective.
I would say.
Now, why would aloe vera work?
It's antibacterial.
Yeah, and it's also goo.
Yeah.
The goo factor is very high with aloe vera.
So
it
kind
gooifies your skin, seals the cracks.
Yeah, is that
protects your skin. So now there's less stuff coming from the outside to aggravate your condition, and now your skin's got a chance to clear. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
Bing, bang, boom, just like that. So there's some other things that help with skin. If you know about skin, you know that vitamin A is helpful. And so it's like, moderately helpful. Zinc is helpful. Again,
for your immune system especially.
Moderately helpful. These are not linchpin things, but they're helpful. If you want to actually get skin to be more helpful, more healthy, then oftentimes we'll put people on vitamin A drops. Now, vitamin A, again, is tricky. If you do too many vitamin A drops, it can be irritating. Teratogenic is the word for your baby in utero. So if you have the chance of being pregnant or you're basically a female of a certain age, you got to be really careful about the vitamin A levels. So it's kind of problematic.
Is it not so much of a risk for those not pregnant, or?
Yeah, if you're a man, it works great.
Okay.
If you're an older woman who's past menopause, it works great. It works excellent. Vitamin A is excellent. And zinc, likewise. Avoiding wheat's another thing. Hey, we're actually at the end of the show, so
we're getting there.
Yeah, we got to wind our conversation down.
Okay.
There's one thing I failed to mention, and I've thought it, but it never came out of my mouth. I should mention it right now, is that psoriasis does not only affect your skin. Psoriasis can affect your nails.
Yeah.
It can affect your joints. It can affect your connective tissue. There are, in fact, people who have a weird kind of psoriasis that they don't even have the skin lesion at all. All they have is the arthritis.
Oh.
It's called psoriatic arthritis. So that one is painful. That one really is a different kind of disease, much more serious disease, potentially crippling disease. So there's that. So psoriasis really is a big problem.
Yeah.
And it does in fact need to be treated. And again, there's some pretty straightforward ways to address it at the core, at the immune system level. and do it in such a way that it doesn't leave you crippled with an immune system that has a piece taken out of it. Okay?
Yeah.
Sound good?
That's great. Thank you so much, Dr.
Hey, my
Luper.
pleasure.
Appreciate everything you share with me and the community. Thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for tuning into the show. Hopefully you will be with us again next week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay in touch.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Sensible Health Solutions. We hope you found today's discussion enlightening and packed with practical tips to enhance your wellness journey. Remember, small changes can lead to big results. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us bring you the best content possible. Stay connected with us on social media for more health insights and updates. You can find us at Sensible Health Solutions across all social platforms. Until next time, stay sensible and stay healthy. This content is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Seek medical advice from a healthcare professional for any medical conditions.